Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. My name is Dan, and since FPL is back in just a short period of time, it's time for the return of the tier list video, starting off with our Gameweek 17 tier list video. So if you're hyped up about the return of the Premier League and FPL, please do leave a like and do subscribe if you want more content as well. Let's get started with this tier list. Alright guys, so a couple of minor changes since before the World Cup. We have changed the categories a little bit, we've changed the graphics a little bit, and we're added more players. We're going to be doing 25 players instead of the usual 20. So let me know what you think about the changes. If they're good, we'll keep them. If you hate them, then we'll go right back. But yes, the categories are now must-haves, great options, good options, optionals, and avoids. And basically, I've just kind of changed the lower down categories because avoids are just players I just definitely don't like. Optionals are kind of players who I don't really have strong feelings towards. I don't really want them, but I guess you could have them. But yeah, it's just hopefully it helps us kind of put players in their place, pretty much. So yeah, 25 players today, guys. They're going to be the top 25 most popular players in FPL right now. We're going to go through from the 25th most popular all the way to the most popular player in the game right now, and we're going to rank them all, and hopefully this is going to help you make a decision. So let's start off with Ødegaard, who is the 25th most popular player in FPL right now. Is he going to go in must-have? Probably not. No, I think he's optional. He's one of those players who I don't think he's an avoid, but he's not a player I have particularly strong feelings towards. I think, you know, if you really want to save money and you don't want to go for Martinelli for whatever reason, like Martinelli is only a little bit more expensive, but for whatever reason you want to save like 0.3 million, I guess you could go for Ødegaard. His numbers are not terrible, to be fair. He's going to be on some set pieces, but not a tremendous amount. But, you know, it's going to be an okay option, but not that interesting to me. Alisson, I'm going to put straight in avoid. Liverpool have some kind of tricky fixtures coming up, and I also feel like Liverpool, they haven't really done enough to convince us that they're going to improve defensively. They really have kind of struggled defensively this season, and Alisson would have pretty much no points if it wasn't for one penalty save and one assist that he's got this season. Like, yes, that is going to happen very, very occasionally, but, you know, week to week this season, he's been getting very, very low scores, and he's been a bit of a trap, really. Very expensive goalkeeper as well, so all in all, just not interested in this player at all. I think he's a straight up avoid. Saka up next. I think, again, he is going to go in the optional category. So, yeah, again, it's like you have to compare him to Martinelli. If you're going to go for an Arsenal attacker, you're going to go for 8 million Saka or 6.8 million Martinelli. I think I kind of prefer to go for Martinelli personally, but it's not to say Saka is a bad pick necessarily. He is on penalties as well, and he's coming off the World Cup in some great form, played really, really well at the World Cup. Is there going to be a little bit of fatigue there? Potentially. But overall, I don't think he's a horrendous player, but, you know, would I be desperate to have him in my team? No, I would not. Zaha is going to go in the avoid category as well, unfortunately for him. He's just such a troll. You know, the only way that Zaha is scoring good points over the next couple of weeks is if everyone sells him and nobody has him in their team. So, yeah, pretty much the only way Zaha scores is when he's in the team of your friend who plays FPL but hasn't changed their team in like 4 weeks. If he's still in that team, then he'll do well for that team. But if we all pick him, he's just not going to do it. That's just the Zaha guarantee. Even though he's got a couple of good fixtures, I am not touching this absolute FPL troll. Let's move on to Trent Alexander-Arnold, who I think, again, is going to go in the optional category. I'm not massively enthusiastic about Trent at this moment. Again, very expensive, and I kind of feel like I would genuinely prefer to go for Robertson at that little bit slightly cheaper price. So we're going to put him down there in optional. Tony, I think, is actually going to be an okay option. Am I quite prepared to put him in good option? No, I don't think he is. I just feel like he's got some difficult fixtures, but we've seen against Man City, for example, in Gameweek 16, he did very well there, didn't he? So would I go for him ahead of some of the other forwards? No, I would not. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not a good option, because he still is a pretty good option. Now, we're going to have our first great option of the video, and that's going to be Marcus Rashford. Good underlying numbers, a very strong World Cup. Manchester United, an improving team. Sancho is still not quite available, so or not quite, you know, at full fitness right now. So Rashford is going to be very much nailed on that left wing for sure. No Ronaldo probably means, better chances for other Manchester United players as well. So overall, Rashford is probably going to have a decent chance to get some decent points. Man United have some very, very good fixtures over the next 3 as well. So definitely a really good option. And Rashford is a player who I'm really looking at having it in my FPL team going into the game week 17. I can't really see myself going without him, to be honest. So yeah, put him in great option. I think he's a really good one. Similarly, I'm going to put Mitrovic in great option as well. I do like this pick a lot, just because he has that double game week in a couple of game weeks time. If we've got unlimited transfers now, we may as well get a couple of players who have got those are really, really nice doubles there. So yeah, Mitrovic is going to go there. Again, really strong season for him so far. Fulham in general having a good season. So yeah, I think he could do pretty well. Foden, I think I kind of feel like I have to put him in a good option. Just because he is Foden and he is class whenever he plays, it's just a case of, is he going to be nailed on? Because we saw before the World Cup, we got trolled a lot with Foden not starting games. It was pretty crazy, actually. I don't really understand how Foden, just didn't get the game time pre-World Cup. But now the World Cup is done, maybe he's going to come back into the team. We know he's a fantastic player. We know he's probably one of, if not the best winger at Manchester City. So it doesn't make sense for him to keep getting rested. So are we going to see a bit more from Foden? I kind of hope so. And if he is playing regularly, I think he's going to be a great option again. And Manchester City, another team that are very likely to have some double game weeks coming up as well. Let's put Perisic in the, I kind of feel like he's either a void or low tier optional. I feel like certainly in this first game week 17, he's probably going to be rested. He has been playing a hell of a lot of football at the World Cup. He played a crazy amount of minutes, and we know about his age. We know about how Conte likes to rest him anyway. If Conte feels that Perisic is exhausted or needs a rest, which surely he does after that World Cup, playing all the way to the 3rd place playoff game, then surely he's not going to get too much game time straight away. Like, game week 17 seems like a write-off for him. After that, maybe he could do okay. We have got a double game week likely to come up for Spurs as well in game week 20. So in that sense, I guess we could consider a nice Perisic, but for now, I feel like maybe don't go for him in game week 17, but maybe keep an eye on him because he's not really a player that you want to have on your bench either. Next up, Nick Pope. I think he's still a good option, but he's certainly not as high as he once was. Newcastle do have a couple of tricky-ish fixtures. Is that even a word? Probably not. Yeah, Newcastle do have a couple of tricky-ish fixtures. But, Newcastle have been really good defensively. Pope has been a reasonably solid goalkeeper, but 5.3 million is quite expensive for a goalkeeper. I do think there are better goalkeeper options for cheaper prices at the moment. So for my game week 17 wildcard, unlimited transfers, whatever you want to call it, am I going for Pope? Not necessarily, but it doesn't mean he's a bad option. I still think he's definitely a player you could consider. Now, Nico Williams, I think, is another player who's going to go in the optional category. I'm going to put him like somewhere around here. I don't think he's the best 4 million defender anymore. There's a couple other defenders I like who are around the same price as Williams. So, for example, I really like Nathan Patterson at Everton. Everton kind of improving defensively. So I think maybe that could be a decent option to go for instead. And also, like, there's some like defenders who are around the same price. Bueno for 3.9 million or whatever he is. 4.2 million. You can get Thomas at Leicester. So yeah, there's some really nice options that are around 4 million. I do genuinely feel are better than Williams, like playing for better defensives, playing for teams higher up the league that I think could be good bench options, that are slightly better than Williams. But Williams, I would not be going for personally. I'm not too keen on him, but I guess like there is a place for him. It's not like he's a complete avoid, but doesn't excite me very much. I still think Andreas is a great option, however. In fact, I know this might be a little bit controversial because I've seen a few people actually say, I'm going to go without Andreas after the break. But with the double game week coming up, he's 4.6 million. He was an absolute beast for Fulham all through the first part of the season, taking set pieces, playing super, super advanced. At some points, as advanced as Mitrovic, playing as a midfielder as well. He was an absolute legend and he's so cheap as well. So for that 5th midfield slot, it makes so much sense to just go for Andreas. I'm still struggling to choose a player other than him to go for. I like him. I like him a lot. Harry Kane next, and again, this is going to be controversial, but I think he is a great option. I would put him kind of in the similar kind of regions as, Andreas, Rashford, and Mitrovic in terms of how much I like this pick, because honestly, he was scoring very, very well at the first start of the season. And people often were like, you know, oh, well, you know, he's not as good as Haaland. Who cares? Like, come on. Well, at the end of the day, we're about, you know, how much we can get for our money. And Kane is obviously outscoring the likes of Salah, kind of scoring, you know, similarly to De Bruyne. And he's listed as a forward. And I don't think at this moment, previously we're all saying, you know, I feel like there are so many forwards I want, it's difficult to fit Kane in. At this moment, I feel like that has potentially changed. And, you know, which forwards do we really want? Obviously, we want Haaland. Obviously, we want, you know, maybe Mitrovic in there. Aside from that, unless you're going to go for Martial or Nketiah or someone slightly differential, why not just go for Kane? You know, maybe even go for Kane instead of Mitrovic. You know, I like this player. And a double game week as well for Kane, where he plays against Arsenal and Man City in their double game week for Spurs in a couple of weeks in Gameweek 20. I know people are going to say, that's not a good double game week, Dan. But you know what? For Harry Kane, he likes a goal against Man City. He likes a goal against Arsenal. Why not? You know, top players will score against anyone. So, you know, I think he's a very good option in that sense. And also Brentford up next, who have been one of the weakest defences in the whole league. So, yeah, I think Harry Kane can continue to do the business. I don't think he's a must-have. But look, I feel like some people are going to be ignoring Harry Kane and forgetting just how good he was and still trying to make those comparisons to Haaland, which, you know, I think is unfair because Haaland is obviously on a completely different level to everyone else in the whole of the Premier League. So, yeah, he's like the best of the rest, or one of the best of the rest, you would say, probably, Harry Kane. Next up, we're going to put in Trossard, and I kind of feel like I should put him in a good option. But again, Trossard has been a very trolly player. He has got some difficult fixtures coming up, but at the same time, Trossard this season only scores in the difficult fixtures. He hasn't really scored any points against the weaker opponents, so he's not really a fixtures player, or it seems like he's not really a fixtures type player. So maybe we just say, yeah, Brighton have bad fixtures, but we like Trossard anyway. It's difficult to fit him in though. That's the only problem with Trossard. Like, there seems to be quite a few other midfielders that I do prefer. Let's put in Ward up next. I feel like Ward is a must-have. Like, not necessarily a must-have for your first choice goalkeeper, but if you're looking for a bench goalkeeper, why not go for Ward? Like, he's 4.1 million, so he's pretty much the same as the cheapest goalkeepers anyway, but actually does provide a genuine backup option. Let's not forget that before the break, Leicester were one of the strongest defences in the whole league. They were keeping clean sheet after clean sheet. And Danny Ward became a bit of a FPL hero. He went from an FPL 0 to an FPL hero pretty much overnight. So, you know what? Let's stick him in the must-have category. I don't really see there being a reason to not go for him as your second goalkeeper. Like, if I'd be kind of interested at this point to hear from some of you guys. If you are not going for Ward as your backup goalkeeper, why aren't you? Because I can't really think of a good reason to not go for him. So he's going to go in the must-have category. Next up, I am going to put in Mo Salah, and this is a really difficult one. And I know people will be wanting me to put him pretty high. I know people are pretty excited about Salah. He has had a nice break and nice rest, but he was very disappointing in the first part of the season. And it's usually the first part of the season where Salah, you know, does his best work, really. So it's difficult to say exactly where to put him. I don't think he is an avoid. I think he's better than optional. I think he's at least a good option. But is he quite a great option? Well, I guess just because he is Salah, I guess he is a great option. And of course, you're not going to be able to have everyone, but hey, you can do a lot worse to have a player like Mo Salah in your FPL team. So yeah, he could do pretty well. He could continue to disappoint. It really is a bit of a mystery. Liverpool will be hoping to kick on, but it's really, really difficult to say what kind of Salah we're going to see in the second half of the season, because for the price he has been a little bit disappointing. And I think that at this point, there are other premiums that we perhaps prefer to go for than Salah, but that doesn't necessarily make Salah a bad option. It just means that maybe we can find something better. But maybe you disagree. Maybe you don't think we can. But anyway, let's move on to Saliba. And this would not be an FPL Mate video if I wasn't putting Saliba in the avoid category, would it? Yes, the Saliba FPL hate bandwagon from FPL Mate, it continues. Now, I actually love Saliba in real life. I love him as a player. My problem with Saliba as an FPL option is that I just don't think he provides value for money. And I feel like he is probably, of the starting defenders for Arsenal, probably the worst player to go for, you know, based on statistics and this, that, and the other. So first of all, Saliba offers basically zero attacking threat. We kind of saw earlier on in the season that maybe he was a little bit fortunate to get some of his attacking returns, but since then, he really has not been taking any shots at all, really. He's not been creating anything at all. His defensive performances have been, you know, fine, but if you're just looking for clean sheets, why go for Saliba when you can go for Gabriel, for example, who is, you know, actually a centre-back who is the key attacker from those set pieces and is getting chances from corners particularly to score goals, and is cheaper than Saliba. You get the same amount of clean sheets, but you get more of attacking threat from Gabriel, and he's cheaper as well. We have Ben White, 4.7 million, so really a decent amount cheaper, has just as much potential to get the clean sheets because they're playing in the same defence, but because he's playing in right back and has often actually been one of the more attack from open play, actually been reasonably attacking, getting a little bit forward, creating a little bit, and again, providing more attacking threats. So Saliba, I'm putting him in a void, not because I hate him as a player, not because I think he is a bad option technically. If Gabriel and Ben White suddenly disappeared from the game of FPL, then Saliba would suddenly be a very, very good FPL option. But because there are two players that to me are clearly better than him and at a cheaper price, doesn't make any sense to pick him in FPL. It really doesn't. So yeah, sorry Saliba, love you, but you remain in the avoid category. And also, guys, Arsenal do have some difficult fixtures coming up. You know, I'm a little bit worried as an Arsenal fan. We've kind of got Man City, we've got Man United, we've got Liverpool, we've got Newcastle. It's a difficult period for Arsenal. It really is. We've got West Ham next though, which is, I guess, is okay. But yeah, certainly I would not be surprised if we weren't keeping clean sheets every game week. But Arsenal are a very good defence, and I'm sure they will keep some clean sheets. But yeah, Saliba, not for me. Almiron, a good option or great option? I feel like the stock of Almiron has kind of decreased a little bit because I think people have forgotten how insane he was before the break. In this kind of mini pre-season, halfway point pre-season in the friendly matches, he is doing very well though. So yeah, you know, he's still showing flashes of brilliance in the pre-season, and he's that 5.8 million price tag. I still feel like Almiron has to be a real key consideration, and I'm going to put him in great option there. So, yeah, Almiron, in fact, is he a better option than Salah? Potentially. I mean, going by the first part of the season, even if they were the same price, Almiron still looks pretty good, right? And he's so cheap. You know what? I'm going to bump up Almiron even more. I'm tempted to put him in this region, you know. I still think Almiron is a very good option. All right, De Bruyne next. Let's put him in. I think he's better than Salah. I think he's around the same as Kane. I think because Man City have a double game week at the same time as Spurs, because they are set to play each other, and Man City have the potential for another double game week after that as well, maybe we have to consider De Bruyne slightly better than Harry Kane, do we? I don't know. I was a little bit disappointed with the World Cup for De Bruyne, but we know how good Man City are. We know he's nailed on, which is going to be really, really beneficial when we're picking those Man City players to play in double game weeks. We want someone who is nailed on, and De Bruyne is certainly that. So for that reason, yeah, I think we have to put him pretty high. It's just a fact of life. There we go. Let's put him like here. I guess it's going to be down to structure, really. I mean, a lot of you guys are probably going to be choosing between De Bruyne, Kane and Salah. Maybe you're going to go for two of those three players, but most of us are probably going to go for one of them. Maybe it'll be slightly about structure, but I do prefer De Bruyne to Salah, certainly. If you're looking to just cover Liverpool, then maybe Darwin Nunez is the other option, and then go for De Bruyne instead. Kind of up to you. Whoever you think is going to score the most points at the end of the day. Let's put Martinelli in next. I think his stock is not as high as it once was. So I'm going to put him in a good option, but not a great option. Just because Arsenal, again, do have some difficult fixtures. And, you know, I just feel like Martinelli, he is fantastic, obviously. But because there's no double game weeks in the immediate term, the fixtures are kind of average to bad. Arguably they're bad, to be honest. For an Arsenal attacker, this is not exactly a run of fixtures that you want to be targeting. So but still, he is Martinelli, very good price. Arsenal are in very good form, so there's a lot to like about him, but at the same time, he is not as essential as he once was. Like before the break, you know, a month or so ago, we probably would be saying, yeah, Martinelli, let's all get him. But right now, I don't think you have to have him. He's like an option. Jesus next, straight in a void. Injured. He's going to be back kind of late February, early March, really. So it's going to be a long time before we see a return of Gabriel Jesus. At least a couple of months. At least a couple of months for Jesus. So unfortunately, he is going to be a straight up avoid. If you have him in your team still, you are going to be needing to sell him. I know the FPL website says he's got a 25% chance of playing. He doesn't. He has a 0% chance of playing for the next couple of months. Just trust me on that one, and you can go look it up if you don't believe me. Cancelo, again, another player whose stock is not quite as high as it once was. I feel like Cancelo's underlying numbers weren't great. He had a poor World Cup. I still think he is a good option, but he's certainly not as much of a good option as he once was. Certainly in years gone by. Yeah, you know, he's just like, Man City aren't keeping as many clean sheets as they have done in the past. Cancelo is not as attacking as he has been in the past. He's just come off a poor World Cup, and there are cheaper options like, you know, Kyle Walker, for example, who is super cheap right now if you just want to get in on that Man City defence. And arguably, Cancelo doesn't have that much of a higher chance of attacking returns and bonus points than Walker anyway. Obviously, Cancelo is better, but for the extra money that you're paying for him, is it worth it? My answer is possibly not. So, good option still, definitely a player we should be considering, but just like Martinelli, he is nowhere near as essential as he once was. Let's move on to the final two players. So, first of all, Kieran Trippier. Where are we putting him? Newcastle, you know, decent fixtures, but not great fixtures. They're kind of like mid, I guess. I feel like we probably do want to have a little bit of defensive cover from Newcastle. If you bought Trippier at like a cheap price, if you bought Trippier at 5 million, I would definitely be keeping him. If for example, you've never owned Trippier this season and you have to buy him at 5.9, I would be less tempted. I would be tempted to try and find a way of not having him, but he's still a very good option. Again, I think he's another one of those players that, because he has had a poor World Cup, he's very expensive now for what he is. It's difficult. I don't know. I still think he's a really good option. So I'm going to put him right at the top of the good option category. But yeah, I feel like he's not as essential as he once was. But maybe we should. Let's put him there. Finally, Erling Haaland. Let's just not mess about. Let's just put him straight in. Top of must-have category. Absolutely must-have. Double game weeks coming up. He's raring to go. He is talking very positively in the media. He has had a 2-month break, essentially. Rest, raring to go, preparing at the training grounds. He's going to go absolutely berserk over the next few game weeks, and you're going to be wanting to captain him pretty much every week. Please do not let the fantastic World Cup that we've just seen distract you from the fact that prior to the World Cup, Haaland was an absolute machine. So he is still remaining to be a must-have player. You must have him. If you don't have him, you're absolutely crazy. So make sure you have Haaland. First player on your team sheet. Please, for heaven's sake, don't make the mistake I made at the start of the season. But there we go, guys. That's, I think, pretty much how I'm going to leave this one. 25 players in there today. I feel like there's still a lot of players that I want to talk about. So if you guys like this video and you want a part 2, maybe we'll do a part 2 of some like differential players, or, you know, slightly different players anyway. We'll put them in a second tier list video, and we'll do that later on in the week. If you want that, let me know in the comments. Leave a like on the video. If this goes down well, then we'll do a part 2. But for now, guys, that's how I'm going to leave it. Let me know what you think about my ratings. Would you move any of these players? Would you keep any of these players where they are? Anything you agree or disagree with, always interesting to know. Right, that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Please do leave a like. Please do subscribe if you're new around here. We have also released 2 other FPL videos so far this week, so do go check them out. Yesterday, we did a kind of a catch-up video where we spoke about everything that's been happening over the World Cup break that is relevant to FPL, just to catch you up, kind of a refresher course in many ways, to get you up to speed for the start of the start of the second part of the season, I guess. I did a team selection video as well a couple of days ago, so do go feel free to check that one out. But for today, guys, I'm done. So thank you once again for watching, and I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.